Hello, this is Jerry Archer, Technical Account Manager with Symantec. Today's training is going to cover the packet capture utility in the ProxySG. So you're probably thinking, I already know there's a packet capture in the ProxySG. But what I want to cover is, I want to cover the challenges that are around the packet capture utility. So there's a lot of little areas that people don't know about. And when you're collecting packet captures, it seems oftentimes when I get packet captures from the field, there's problems with them. So one example is the packet capture's already reached the 100 megabit mark within a matter of seconds. So on a busy network, on a big proxy, if you try to do unfiltered, that packet capture will fill up in like seconds. So therefore, by the time that you start the packet capture, open up your browser, and start typing in the URL that you're looking for, that packet capture is already full. So anyways, when that happens, the packet capture stops capturing, stops, and everything that you're doing really doesn't get captured. So that's not a good option. Another problem I see is packet captures that are sent to me, and the filter used is, it's just the client IP address. So some people think, well, this is the client I'm troubleshooting on, so therefore I'm going to create a filter and I'm going to use its IP. So that only gives you half of the picture of the connection. Sometimes I see both of those scenarios. I got a packet capture that hit the 100 megabit mark. It's also filtered on only the client IP. And sometimes the packet capture just doesn't have the relative information in it that we're looking for, which makes it useless. So the packet capture utility on the proxy, it uses a format or a syntax, and this is what it is. It's the Berkeley Packet Capture Filter, or BPF Syntax. So if you just open up your browser and you use the search engine of your choice, Google, whatever, and then you just type in a search for Berkeley Packet Filter, hit enter, you will be returned with many results. So you can really pick and choose the URL or the site that has the information that you're looking for, that's in like the format that you're looking for. This just happens to be the one that I bookmark and use frequently. It just works for me. So it goes down and it talks about different types of filtering you could use. Source, destination host, gateway, network, mask, port ranges, protocols, those sorts of things. So anyways, do your Google searching. You could also get a book. A book would be very helpful for some really advanced filtering. Alright, back to the ProxySG itself. So to get to the packet capture utility, you go under maintenance, you go under service information, you go under packet captures. Once you get there, there's going to be buttons that you can press, there's going to be drop down boxes, and there's going to be a text field. That's going to be your filter text field. So the buttons are start capture, stop capture, download capture, show statistics. Drop down boxes, you could pick the direction or you could pick the interface. Default direction is both. You could pick in or out. The interface default is all, but depending on your platform, your interfaces might look different than this, which is understandable and correct. So you could pick the interface that you're looking for if that's what you're really trying to accomplish. And then on the filtering, oftentimes what happens is I will see a filter that looks something like this. So what somebody's doing is they're filtering on the IP address of the client. So they're thinking, if I'm troubleshooting on this client, all I really need is the IP address of it and get a filter on it, and then I can see all the traffic that client's doing. Well, that's true, but it's only half the picture. So as you know, the proxy, there's really two connections. You got the client side and the server side, and when the the client makes a request to the internet, the proxy intercepts, it terminates the connection and makes a new connection out to the server. And what makes that new connection, it's using the proxy's IP. So you have a client side and a server side connection. There's really two connections. So with that said, we want to add more to our filter. I like to use OR because OR gives me more than one option, or more than one thing I'm trying to filter on. All right. So this address here that you see, it's the IP address of the client machine that's next to me. You can't see it, but you just have to believe me, it's there. And you add another address. So this is an address, an IP address of a destination that I'm going to get a packet capture on. Here is there's another IP, and then you could just keep going on. So if there's multiple destinations, 1, 2, 3, 4, however many, you just keep doing OR statements and you just keep adding them there. Alright. So what this does is it gives you your client and multiple destinations if the proxy chooses one of a couple destinations. Other one I like to use is just the host name. So in this case, the site I chose to go to for testing is going to be www.nba.com, and then we're also going to add one more thing. Or port 53. So it's a good idea when you create a long filter like this, just go ahead and copy it. Because when you save it, if there's a syntax error, it's going to give you a message letting you know that there's a problem with it, and this whole field is going to go away. So save yourself from retyping the whole thing out. If you could spot your mistake, it's quicker. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply on this. Hopefully my syntax is right. We'll know here in a moment. There. So perfect example. The whole thing went away because there's an error. So let's see what the error was. Packet filter expression cannot be compiled. Or port 53 www.nba.com. Alright, let's just paste it back in and see if we can figure it out real quick. So IP host is this, or an IP host is this, or IP host is this, or IP host, or host. Is there a space there? Is it my problem? There it is. Let's do this. Let's get rid of a couple of these because I'm actually going to make this shorter here for our test. Oh, I see what it is. Okay, or. Alright, we'll go ahead and make it shorter anyway. Alright, so that should work. So let me hit apply. Perfect. Okay, so when you think you have the client address, the destination address, the host name, and the DNS port, it's always a good idea just to verify that. So a couple ways you can do it. One of the ways that people do, and they oftentimes find out that they're wrong, is they'll open up command prompt and they will type in nslookup www.nba.com. It'll come back here and it resolves to something. Right? So in this case, it resolves to 104.120.201.61. Let's see here. It's the same. So that happens to be what that resolved to. But really, we don't really care about that. What we really care about is what the proxy resolves to, because the proxy is going to make the connection, so we need to know what it resolves to. So it's just SSH to a proxy, and it's the same proxy. You can see the IP addresses are the same. So I'm just logging in. Okay, so what I like to do is I just like to ping the host that we're going to go to. In this case, is going to be www.nba.com. And when it replies, it's showing the same address. So we're just verifying the address that the proxy is using is the same address that we're using in our filter. Take it, ping it. The other one you could do is you could do a test DNS www.nba.com, hit enter, and it comes back and it tells you the resolved address. So everything matches, right? So that's good. I'm just going to minimize this. Alright, so client address, destination address, just the host name, and the DNS port. So that's a pretty good filter to start off with. And I like to use OR because it could be any one of those. If you do ANDs, and it means it has to be both. So when you do ANDs, unless it's both of them, you're not going to capture anything. So in my experience, it's better just to do ORs all the way across, and you got the best chance of actually capturing something. Alright, so let's talk about that 100 megabit limitation. So default on the proxy, the packet capture has a default size limit of 100 megabits. So if you want to start a packet capture, you go to Start, Capture Matching All Packets, that's the default, and if you just hit Start, it starts. Right? If you want to hit Stop, it stops. If you want to hit Download, well, it's gray in here in this case because I didn't actually send the connection, so nothing matched there. But if it did, if there was traffic there that matched my filter, this wouldn't be gray anymore. It would be selectable, right? And then there's show statistics. So the 100 megabit limitation, it's small. It's oftentimes not enough capacity to capture what we're looking for. So it's best to go to Start Capture, same thing, and instead of the default, come down here to Capture Last. You end up in a text box, and what it's asking you is it wants to capture the last matching kilobytes. So how many kilobytes? It doesn't say here, so you don't really know. Different proxies are different because it basically goes off the size of the proxy size in the memory. So what I like to do is I like to throw in 8 nines here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nines. So this number is bigger than what the proxy will allow. I know that, and I'm actually trying to create an error. And the error that's going to come out of the proxy is it's going to tell me you can't do that. The packet size has to be between 1, and it'll give you whatever that high number is. So I'll just hit Start Capture. Alright, packet capture size must be between 1 and, this is the magic number that I'm looking for this proxy, right? A different proxy that has a different capacity, that number will be different. But for my purpose, I want to get the biggest packet capture I can, or at least set it to grow to this size. So copy that. I'm just going to close this. We're going to go back to Start Capture, and we're going to replace all those nines, because it's a bogus number in this case. And we're going to replace it with the value that we copied, which is the largest value that this proxy can capture in its packet capture. And hit Start. Packet capture started. So now I'm going to turn over to my workstation, which is at this IP address, and I'm going to make a request to this URL. And hopefully, if everything goes well, we will be able to stop the capture and download it, or go under statistics and take a look at it. So I'm going to turn to my workstation here. My other PC, my test workstation. I typed in www.nba.com. I'm hitting enter. Page is loading. Page has loaded. You'll have to trust me on that one. So I'm hitting stop. Packet capture stopped. So now, since there was traffic that matched my filter, I could either download the capture. But for instance for this, I'm going to go to Show Statistics, and from here, it's going to give you a whole lot of statistics on what was just captured. You'll be able to start a new packet capture. You could stop a packet capture. You could download the capture. Here it shows you the filter that you used, and over here, bytes captured. Whatever the size of the packet capture is, it'll show you here. So if you didn't create a big packet capture, and you see 100 megabits here, or anything slightly above 100, you almost know right away that that packet capture is useless because it probably filled up in a matter of seconds, and it stopped. So anyways, let's go ahead and download the packet capture that we just created. Download it, open it. Okay, The other thing to notice is the name of the packet capture. Blue coat, a date, a time, the time's in UTC, and then it kind of, in the file name, it includes your filter. So if you're ever sending this packet capture to support, try not to change the file name, because when you do, we lose visibility to what your filter was. If you retain the same file name, we can look at the file name, we know what filter to use, and if we see that the filter could improve, we'll let you know. But in this case, so at this point, we're just going to verify in our packet capture the information that we're hoping was in there is in there. So we said we want to capture on our client IP address, and this here is the client IP address. We said we wanted to capture on DNS, and I see DNS. We wanted to capture on the destination IP, so that was a 104 address, so let's just go ahead and see if we can search for it, rather than scrolling down for it. Let's see if it's in there, and it is. Right? So it's in there. So our source is in there, our destination's in there, DNS is in there. If you really want to look for more, you could go try to find your host name. In this case, we're going to look for a string. Since this is an explicit connection, packet list is fine. If it was transparent, you'd probably want to change this from packet list to packet details or maybe even packet bytes. But for what we're doing, packet list should be fine. We'll just put in here www.mba.com. Just hit enter. There it is. There's my request. So 172.22.126.237 is the client. 1078.3.117 is my proxy. It's an explicit request. We can see the name of the URL. So I would say that we captured a packet capture. We validated the information in it. It's good packet capture because we can see all the things that we asked for. So at that point, you're free to send that to support for analysis. So I'm just going to minimize this. If you wanted to start a new packet capture, you just click Start Capture. Once it was started, if you want to stop, you hit Stop. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Alright, so the next thing that you would do is, once you uploaded your packet capture to support, you would want to take that big packet capture and you would want to, you can't delete it, but you can overwrite it. So remember I said that the packet capture can grow to be no more than 4% of the total memory of the box. So if having a packet capture in the proxy that is the size equal to 4% of the total memory or less, and you're okay with that, you don't need to do anything. If that bothers you and you just want to free up that space for something else, it's pretty easy to do. So you go to start capture, and I like to delete that number, change it from capture last, and let's bring it back to the default. So that would tell the proxy that the most you could capture is 100 megabits, so you're back at default. Click Start Capture, and at that point, as soon as you get one frame, you only need one, that big packet capture gets replaced with whatever this new one is, and you know that it's never going to be more than 100 megabits. So anyways, you can stop the capture. Alright, let's go over some of the things that to do and some of the things that you don't. So in recap, some of the things that you do want to do is you want to use a good filter, right? So a good filter would be the client address, the server address, the host name, and a DNS port. And again, so this is good for most things, but you're going to have to modify that to whatever specifically you're doing. But usually every request is going to have a source, it's going to have a destination, it's going to have some sort of host, and probably DNS is a good bet. Alright, the other thing you want to do is you want to check your IP addresses and ensure they're correct before you start the packet capture. And again, you can do that through, you could putty to the proxy that you're on, and you could ping it. You can do a test DNS and look for that name and see what it resolves to. So that's a way that you could verify your address, at least for the destination, and verify which address the proxy is going to use. The client IP on the workstation, you know how to get that. Go ahead and use the large PCAP. So we know that the 100 megabit PCAP has limitations. So you might as well just throw that one behind you and just configure a large PCAP, and just remember to reconfigure that back to the smaller size. So when you're done, change it back to the 100 megabit and overwrite the large PCAP if you're concerned about that. Alright, things that you don't want to do. Right? So you don't want to collect unnecessary data in your PCAP. So what I could tell you is a lot of people send us these huge PCAPs for really no good reason. What they're trying to collect is pretty small, but what they'll do is they'll start the PCAP, they'll let it sit there and run for a little bit of time while they clear their policy trace, they clear their cache in their browser, they start typing in their URL, and when they hit enter on their URL and they go to the site that they're looking for, and then they log in because it's a secure site, and then after they log in they have to click on this and then this and then this and then this before they know that the next thing that they click on, that's where the problem is. When they click on that next link or that next picture or icon, whatever it is, that's when they get their error, whatever their error might be. So what I'm saying is, if you can not collect unnecessary data, it's helpful. So what I like to tell people is, get yourself set up to where you're like 1 or 2 clicks away from reproducing the problem if you know exactly where you could reproduce it. Once you're 1 or 2 clicks away, start the packet capture. Take those 1 or 2 clicks, make your problem reproduce, and then stop the packet capture. And what that does is it cuts down on a lot of the noise, a lot of the chatter, the size of the packet capture, the amount of data that you have to transfer from the proxy to the support ticket or wherever you're transferring it, and the amount of data that you have to analyze. So anyways, if you can make that file smaller, that's always a good thing. So don't filter on just the client IP address unless you know that that's really the only thing that you need. So if the troubleshooting you're doing only requires the client IP and nothing else, then that would be fine. And if you see a packet capture that hits 100 megabits within a couple of seconds, don't send us that, because I almost always find out that file is useless, because when you open it up and look at it, you could see that the whole thing filled up in seconds. And if you just look at frame 1 and you scroll all the way to the bottom and look at frame whatever, the whole thing only took a couple seconds to capture. So that pretty much wraps up troubleshooting or the packet capture utility on the proxy. So hopefully this gives you a couple extra ideas of ways to get a better packet capture, helps you understand how to build filters, helps you understand what a better filter is, and kind of help you realize mistakes before you make them. Alright, thank you very much for watching this video.